All right, I'm going to call this meeting of the Madison Elementary School Board back to order. We have a public hearing. Dr. Guerin.
President Holcomb, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, Deputy Superintendent Ms. Garvey will now lead us in a public hearing.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Guerin, and cabinet. Tonight, I am presenting the proposed budget, which was at the last board meeting on May 30th. It's been published for 10 days, or over 10 days now, on the ADE website. And tonight's charge is to open it up to see if there's any comments from the public, any further comments from the board before it goes to approval for the board during the actual board meeting.
Okay. Now open the, yes ma'am. Go ahead. Okay. You wanted to be in control.
I'd
That's
like
okay.
to do my presentation.
Oh, I thought that was the presentation. Then I ungavelled it,
Okay.
and you can have your presentation.
Thank you. For the fiscal year 24, which is next school year, if you can believe it, the state budget highlights was an increase in the base support level of 2.92%, which is the equivalent of $965,000 in additional M&O funding. The override is based on that additional funding as well, so the 15% in the maintenance and operation override comes to $145,000. In addition to that, there was a 9.38% increase in district additional assistance, which can be transferred to M&O, and that is the recommendation. In addition to that, if you recall, we had set aside a little bit over $1 million for the parity study from last year that was not touched, that we had to bring forward to this year. We have some budget balance carry forward. It was higher than anticipated, so we are looking at we're making the recommendation to lower the budget balance carry forward, however, still keeping it at a very good contingency level at 4%. And then in addition to that, we received one-time only funding from the state. It was distributed to the school districts on your pro rata share of students to the entire statewide population of students. That one-time money for Madison was a little bit over $1.3 million. With those funds, the recommendations have come forward in April and May to the governing board, and they were approved. So just to go over them, what's included in this budget was the greater of parity, or 2% for all employees, an additional 2% for all employees, a classified level up program, which is professional development performance for classified staff. We had 11 additional teachers through roll-up, the medical insurance increase of 4%, the ASRS retirement contribution went up 0.12%. There was an increase in the extra duty pay schedule regarding substitute, extra duty pay for teachers and coaches and club sponsors. And then we have a retention stipend of $600 that was approved for out of the one-time funds only. So this is a one-time appropriation. The non-M&O commitments that were built into this budget were the addition of a student behavior specialist paid out of ESSER, 3 teachers on assignments, 1 for each of our middle schools, paid out of ESSER, a retention stipend for ESSER of $600, a special ed instructional coach to be paid out of IDEA, our federal funding for special ed, and then permanent subs at the elementary schools and Madison Traditional Academy. Currently, the middle schools have them, which is why they're not listed here. And those were all the commitments that have been added into the budget that is being presented to you. When we look at it, our total maintenance and operation fund is just a little bit over $46.8 million. Our unrestricted capital fund is at $12.9 million. Our federal projects is at $6.8 million. And our total aggregate school district budget with those funds is $66.6 million. The classroom site fund is a fund that was outside of those funds that we just looked at. This is an annual appropriation that changes every amount. It's based on a per student amount. This year it went up $50 in weighted student count. As you can see highlighted in green here, Madison uses it on teacher compensation for base pay and the performance pay for certified staff. The total budget for Classroom Site Fund is $8.9 million. You can see here are our major federal and state grants. We have our 2 title funds. We have the IDEA Part B, which is the special education. We have ESSER 3, which has an end date of September of 2024, so it will go next school year, plus it could go the first 3 months of the next fiscal year. And then the school safety grant that we were awarded this past April, I believe, for the social worker counselor at each school for $736,000. We must post on our website the average teacher salary, and it must have these components. So this comes directly off of the cover page that is presented and uploaded to ADE for anybody to view whenever they'd like to go out there and look at the budget. The average salary of all teachers employed for next year is $61,241, which is up 4% from this year. And that is it. Are there any questions?
Okay. Now, with your permission, I'll open the public hearing. Ms. Humphries, do we have any public comments, either online or anybody in the audience? We do not have any public comments. All right. And I will close the hearing and reconvene the regular meeting and adjourn the, so that brings us up to the superintendent's report. Dr. Guerin.
President Holcomb, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, I want to extend my thanks to all the staff members and guests who presented at our study session today. A special thanks to Jason Pienkowski for leading us in our school integrated action planning this summer. This deep dive into our school data, areas of our strength and areas of our need will guide our work next year to ensure we are ready to not only meet our students' needs, but to make sure we maximize their learning to reach their full potential. It is hard to believe that this is the last board meeting of the 22-23 school year. I will never forget my first year in Madison, and I'm so grateful for everyone's support. Thank you to our governing board members for their tireless dedication this year and many years of dedication to our students, staff, and community. I want to express my thanks to the cabinet members. I'm so grateful for your talent, hard work, and expertise. And a special thanks to Laura Webb. This is her last meeting as a principal cabinet member, and you truly made an impact with your input at the table every week in cabinet. A special thanks to the staff who supported our students this year. You are simply incredible educators and make an impact on students' lives each and every day. And just because it's summer, our educators don't stop. Our MAC program is up and running, and students are learning and having fun every day. I hope everyone has a wonderful summer filled with enjoying family and friends and some downtime and some adventures. I hope everyone has a wonderful summer. That's all I have today.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson.
I don't have any report today.
Ms. Kazi.
I will also pass since we've been here since 1 p.m.
Sorry, I'm not going to pass.
Ms. Gresham. I know you have something to say, Ms. Gresham.
Think of something. No, actually, all I have is that I did go to the ASBA Leadership Conference last weekend. So I represented our Madison team, and it's always good to network with other school board members and stuff. So that's all I have. And thank you, Ms. Webb, for your service. And we'll see you at the district office next year.
The only thing I want to say is it is hard to believe that it's in the first year and what we've been here, and it has been a very eventful and I think a very successful and rewarding year for all of us here, and I look forward to even a better one starting in July. So, with that, that brings us to the consent agenda. Are there any items that either staff or members of the board would like to take off the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved?
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Gresham to accept the consent agenda as presented. Please vote. That passes unanimously. Ms. Humphries, do we have any other calls to the public? And having no calls to the public, that brings us to the action items. First one up is adoption of the 2023-2024 school district budget. Dr. Karen.
President Holcomb, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, I will turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Ms. Garvey.
Good evening.
You again, huh?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Guerin, and cabinet. Before you, administration is requesting approval of the fiscal year 23-24 budget. Are there any questions?
I will just comment that we have had several opportunities to ask questions, just in case anyone's wondering why, if we don't have any questions. So this is multiple hearings that we're required to do, so.
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. I just wanted to make one comment about the budget, just something people should be aware of. There's $1.3 million in one-time funding for the school district. It's an enormous amount of money for only one-time spending, and schools have long-term issues that they need to deal with that one-time money can't take care of. We need the legislature and the governor to come to agreement on longer-term funding solutions for schools, and not just one-time money that really puts a Band-Aid on issues that solutions. So that's all I have.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah. No, and I think that's important. As people listen to it, the presentation of the budget, it was very important for Ms. Garvey to have pointed out that there's certain things are paid out of one-time money because you cannot commit that to long-term expenses. And so while we're always thankful for the money, it needs to be more than one-time money is difficult for schools to deal with because we don't deal in just 1 year, but we deal in generations. And so I also really want to thank, we've done this before, but thank everybody who's been involved in the budget. Ms. Garvey's led it, but there's been a lot of community members and a lot of other people in the administration and the district. Our budget process has always been good, but it's improved every year, and it's phenomenal amount of work and a lot of dedication to really put together something that is so useful and for the district. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adopt the 2023-2024 school district budget as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Ms. Causey, seconded by Ms. Thompson. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. That brings us up to the governing board argument in support of the special maintenance and operations override election. I think Ms. Thompson wrote that. Ms. Thompson, would you like to lead the discussion on this, please?
I'm happy to. Thank you, Mr. President. I took a draft of a potential pro statement for the board to consider. I think it's being pulled up right now. I think what's really important in communicating to the public is, one, they are such a critical partner in the work that we do. I know all of us as board members are very appreciative of our supportive community. We value their financial support and how we've been prudent stewards of those dollars over the last number of years to continue the override, because it is such a critical part of our budget. The uses of the dollars are outlined in there. I put a little more detail than perhaps has been in the past in the pro statement, so people know what the signature programs are. We don't just assume that they know what our signature programs are. I also made in drafting this, made a point that, these are stable dollars that come from an override, unlike some of those one-time dollars we just discussed that come in from the state legislature. Although, as you mentioned, Member Holcomb, they are welcome to have stable funding where you can make long-term commitments for the district are tremendously helpful. and just emphasizing in closing that, we know that our fantastic schools make great neighborhoods and really drive our economic development, not just as a community, as a state. And we're the foundation for that community success. And then encouraging people to support the override. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the draft.
Any other comments or questions from members of the board? Ms. Gresham?
I'll make a quick comment, and thank you, Ms. Thompson, for doing this. And I will just add that this, I don't know if it says in here, but this does not, will not, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Garvey, but this does not increase our tax rates. And in fact, the tax rates for Madison have gone down over many years. So I just wanted to point that out in case anyone's listening.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Gresham, in fact, in the second paragraph, what doesn't specifically say this won't impact the tax rate, it says, we've been prudent stewards, we've invested in our student success, and we've reduced the district tax rate over several years. In fact, it's been 8. I only had 200 words to work with, and this statement is exactly 200 words. So I had to shave off a word or two of explanation, but yes, we should be very proud that for 8 or more years running, we have been able to reduce the district tax rate.
Ms. Kazi?
I think it's a great letter. The only thing that I have a comment is, I'm wondering if we need a comma right there. That's the only thing. But I think I like that we're providing additional information regarding our signature programs. And I think the last paragraph, which I think is somewhat similar, but it sums it up fabulously. Well done. Thanks.
So do you accept the comma?
Oh, yes. It's a comma in the second paragraph after stewards. Yep, there.
Okay. Yes, and I want to thank you for putting together the letter. I thought it was good. I found one typo beforehand, just a missing plural, and I think it does a very good job of summarizing the unanimous board decision or support for this. And just for the public to understand, there will be a publicity pamphlet that explains what the bond is for. As part of that pamphlet, members of the public are allowed to put statements in support of or against the bond, and we encourage people to do put their comments in, whether they are in support or against it. We want to make sure that there's full disclosure in relation to this. By statute, the board has the opportunity to put in a statement in support, and that's what we're doing here. So, Ms. Garvey.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Guerin, and cabinet. In addition to what Mr. Holcomb was saying, if any member of the public would like to submit a statement either for or against, there is a link directly on the district's website to help you figure out how to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Garvey. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adopt the statement in support as presented with the added comma.
So moved.
Oh, I'll second.
Moved by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Gresham. Please vote.
I know.
And that passes unanimously. Next up is the performance-based pay for a superintendent per the district superintendent's contract. Would you like to start off this discussion? Or do you want us to go?
No, I think you can.
Oh, well, thank you. Any comments or questions or to be raised by any member of the board? Ms. Kazi.
We just want to share with the public, we met in executive session to discuss this and just want to share, I think we can unanimously share our excitement, approval, appreciation for the work and the accomplishments that you completed over the past school year. this is my 9th year on the board, and I think it's the 3rd superintendent where I've been with them for the first year, and it was by far the smoothest year that I've experienced with a new superintendent, despite the rockiness that, a school year presents, especially one that has all the unique qualities that we are facing, given that we just went through a pandemic. I didn't use the COVID word. And so I just personally, and I think I can speak to some degree on behalf of my colleagues, we are so appreciative of you and thrilled that you decided to join us on this adventure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments? No? I do think that summed it up very well. It's been a great first year, and looking forward to what you do and you and your team do next year. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the full performance-based pay per the superintendent's contract.
Is there a second?
Second?
Moved by Ms. Gresham, seconded by Ms. Thompson. Any further discussion? Please vote. That passes unanimously. Congratulations. Okay. Next up is our discussion concerning future meetings. Dr. Guerin.
President Holcomb, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, our next meeting will not be till, I believe, the first day of school in July 25th. So we are still building that agenda, but we will have the lease agreement for Madison Highland Prep and some of our typical consent items and our reports. And then we will have our welcome back event on August 3rd.
And I assume by that meeting, you'd also like the board to bring in all the gift cards and things for the Welcome Back breakfast?
Yes, please, and drop them off anytime. You don't have to wait for any meeting.
Absolutely, and Ms. Humphreys did provide you with the letter that you can give to our donors. Very much appreciated.
To that point, if people could let Danielle know, Ms. Humphreys know who they are going to and talking to, it might help that we don't go to the same people. So if folks would let Danielle know, then we can keep a list of that.
Just to clarify, the first day of school is August 8th, right?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, that would be our second meeting. I apologize.
Yep, so we'll have a meeting before.
Yeah, we have the July meeting, and then we have the meeting on the first day of school, August 8th. I got ahead of myself.
Just can't wait to come back. Okay. Anything else to discuss in relation to future meetings? With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Ms. Causey, seconded by Ms. Thompson. Please vote. And that passes unanimously, and at 6:30, I think that's our quickest meeting of the year so far, full meeting. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone, for the long day.
Yep.